Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very, very senior and accomplished professional from Rotterdam, the Netherlands, Patricia. Iris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Ashutosh. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Iris is an executive coach, and her firm is called INSIDEOUT. So Iris, let me start by asking you the first question. You say lead from the heart, change from the soul.
Yes.
Help me understand this with an anecdote or an example.
Very good that you're asking, because I've been with that lead from the heart, change from the soul for a while, and then you sort of forget why you started with that. But what it is like people are passionate about what they do, or they look for passion, what they want to do. So, and this comes from the heart. It's not a mind thing. It's a full experiencing. And change from the soul, that's where we literally go to and try to unearth the epiphanies that really makes you feel like you're at home in what you do, like you belong there, that it's really your big why and all your values come to play in what you do. And this is not a mind thing, not an emotion thing. It's just something that you intrinsically feel. And that's where I take people. It's not that I open doors, it's they open the door, and together we go and explore in this inner being. So sort of back to the root, if you like.
Fascinating, fascinating. And when you say inside out, what is the context in which you use the term as a coach?
Yes, inside out. I truly believe any change and every transformation starts from inside out. Look, you take a seed, you plant it in earth, you water it, you give it the nutrition it needs, and then, whoa, there comes this flower. Whoa, there comes this tree. It's even when you, let me use the term, start a baby. It's like tiny, and it just grows, and it gets all a big human, beautiful being, right? So it's inside out. Wow. So when I use this term in coaching, it's basically we go back to the root, because every human being brings along all they already are. So that means they have it in them, all the qualities to lead, to live, to be a human, beautiful human being. And then through education, through upbringings, through life circumstances, tragic life circumstances at times, and beautiful ones, it gets forgotten, it gets covered up. And so what we do in my Inside Out coaching is basically we unearth again what's already here.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. And when you talk about executive coaching based on all your experience, what are some of the most common challenges you address with your coachees?
Yes, thank you for addressing that with my coachees, because I can't speak for all the executives here on this huge, amazing world. Yeah. When they come, it is a matter that, or an issue they have at work, whether it's fear of not enough turnover, or there's a relational issue with some of the employees, or with a client that they don't feel comfortable working for, but he brings a lot of turnover. And then the challenge is mainly boils down to in the person's self, insecurity, fears or anxiety, maybe guilt or shame. But of course, the world can't know. It's not allowed. The world is not allowed to know. Yeah. So the issue they come here is different than what we work on. And the challenges I see nowadays is really to embrace the world as it is, and sort of face the triggers and what it makes here in the human being, and then to really deal with all that's here. So that sounds a bit global, but in the clients that come, we boil it down to emotional and mind issues or beliefs.
Thank you. Great response. And when Iris, when I was preparing to speak to you, I was reading about your AAA inside out coaching approach.
Yes.
Tell me about this approach and give me an example.
Yes. So the AAA was born because I truly believe, and I witnessed that in my coaching sessions with coachees, that it starts with acceptance. That's the first A of the AAA approach. So the moment we, and even if it's for a few seconds only, the moment we fully accept how life shows up, how life is in this very moment, the seed of change gets activated, because in acceptance intrinsically is change.
Right.
So that's the first step. And then we start aligning the person to, what their focus, what their wish is, what they want to be or want to grow, or what they would like to change in life. So it starts with acceptance. And then we look at their behavior and say, well, how do you show up in life when life is as it is? And then we work from that behavior, we work into the beliefs, into the upbringing, into the cultural themes, something that this person made this person who they are today. And since they want to change it, we go even a step deeper and say, so, it's like you take a lake and there's the lily pads, and then the stem is all the beliefs, the education. And then you go into the muddy ground where is all the emotions. Maybe there's unmet grief or unmet fear. It can be a misunderstanding from childhood. So we explore in a gentle introspection, in a gentle way, and we unearth those emotions that were never met fully. And once they're met, the person literally gets into alignment as a new being. They radiate, they just know something shifted. Right. And then the other A is act. And then from this alignment, they can walk their talk. Yeah. I lately had one coachee, and we worked on an old issue, a pain from the past. And then literally, and we had goosebumps when he said, did you hear my voice dropped? My voice is deeper. And I said, yeah, because finally you're able to speak your truth, right? So it's a very visceral coaching way. And AAA is like, again, acceptance, align, and then you act, walk your talk from this alignment.
Amazing. Thank you. The other question that I wanted to ask you is that, when as a coach you talk to potential coachees, how do you address resistance or skepticism?
I love that question. So you know why? Because to be honest, when people come to my doorstep and we have a discovery call, a clarity call, they've overcome their resistance already. And now they're looking for someone to work with. And so it's more about the click, and it's more about, could we envision to work together? Because as the coachee is free to choose, so am I, because it's important. It needs this space of trust. And of course, when there's resistance or even doubts, or, like a very critical mind, I say, you don't have to, but what has it cost you to go through life the way you did? And what is it really that you want? And would you like to at least explore whether that's a step? And then we do maybe one get together so he can explore, she can explore, and then learn whether that's something for them. So again, people, when they come, they already they already opened their door a tiny wee bit. And then it's just about, is there a click? Is there trust? And let's go.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. My next question is, how important is emotional intelligence for leadership? And how do you cultivate this in executives who you coach?
Yes, I prefer to embrace it more in called emotional agility. Okay. Because emotional intelligence, for me, it keeps it in a mindset. It keeps it in the understanding mind from a mind perspective, but not literally embody and feel the emotions. Right. And this is very, very important. And I address it in a way in my coaching sessions with executives, is first of all to especially when they have been living a very mindy life because of their job they do, the position they have. We need to reconnect to feeling or emotions, not just as a concept, but as a feeling. So it's a step-by-step approach. It's of course very individual with the person I'm working with, but emotional agility goes along with mental agility. That means that we learn to embrace our full humanness, human beingness, and emotions are part of that. We are emotional animals. And the more we accept the so-called negative and the positive emotions, we sort of gain a strength, because we then don't, let's put it that way. Emotional agility, if I accept who I am, if I accept how I feel and acknowledge that and I embrace it, I can be more compassionate and have more empathy to others, what they go through in life. It creates more kindness, more love, more understanding, and more connectedness. And together we make this world a better place. So it starts with us, and we need to embrace our emotions and not fight them, because they're part of human.
Well said. My next question relates to the pandemic. You know, the pandemic led to all kinds of changes in working.
Yes.
So in the age of remote working or hybrid working, or working with virtual teams, what challenges and opportunities do you see for executives, and how do you coach around these challenges?
Yes, that's really very individual too. Some coaches, they might be fearful of losing control, you know, because they can't really control what people do when they work remotely from home. So how do you deal with that? So it starts again with the person self. What's the fear of control here? Let's work on that. Then it's becoming creative, because honestly, I see the positive sides on working remotely, or have virtual teams. You can hire the experts you need as an executive from all over the world. You just need to make it work with the time zones. And then again, it's, you know, it depends on the type of work. And it literally depends again on the executive self. How open is she or he for this type of hybrid working, partly in person, partly online? So what needs to happen is just a constant communication, a checking in, speaking the truth in terms of speaking up. I had a client last week, and he said, you know, I'd love to meet more because it feels quite isolating. And I said, does your boss know? And he said, no. And I said, well, maybe it's good to share, and then together you find a solution.
Right.
Did it answer your question? Because
Yes, it did.
I get carried away.
No. I think you've been giving some great responses.
Okay.
My next question, Iris, is that in the age of all this new technology and artificial intelligence, what do you see as the future of executive coaching, and how do you see it evolving?
Honestly, I don't know. What I personally believe is that we need to embrace it, because it's here. It's going to serve in a very particular way. And I truly believe that it can't replace human connection, because empathy is the most effective when it's person to person. No AI can do empathy as a human being can do heart to heart, eye to eye. So I believe there will be ways or modalities that give a quick kind of coaching support, but the real deal stays with people. That's my honest opinion.
No, that's a great response.
For now.
Yeah.
Maybe if you ask me in 5 years, maybe there's some more, but for now, this is
absolutely. Thank you. And how do you, Iris, help executives maintain a work-life balance, especially when they are in very high-pressure roles?
Yes, that's a very, very, very good question. And I'm often asked that. And then I go, okay, what is work-life balance? Is work is life too? Because especially when we are compassionate and committed to what we love doing. So then I love to bring in this metaphor in the airplane. You know, when you board a plane, you sit down, you fasten seat belt, and the first thing they say, in case of an emergency, put your oxygen mask on first, and then help others. And that's literally what I say to executives. I say self-care is important. If you can't take care of your needs, if you can't take care of yourself, how can you lead others?
Well said.
I work with an assessment tool, and there you literally see, based on the values, so many people are full of empathy and people focused and get things done. But if they don't take care of themselves, they don't have the energy, they can't do. So it's the values come into play and the big why. Maybe that person is in the wrong position in terms of in the wrong company. Maybe they need to speak their truth or acknowledge and say, you know, I've come to that place and now I'm somewhere where I don't really like it, but I keep going because I feel responsible for the people, my family, the stakeholders. But then it's sitting down and say, okay, so what needs to happen so that you are not only healthy, but that you feel good in your skin. And then when you feel good in your skin and you feel aligned in yourself, as connected with yourself, you can do a better job. So, you know, it starts with the person.
Very interesting. Very interesting. The next few questions are, Iris, for you. Given your own background as such a strong professional, how has your own background supported your coaching philosophy, your style, and your values?
Yes, I think with many backgrounds, it starts in the upbringing. It starts with parents. I was lucky to have two parents, my dad and my mom. And my dad, I remember strongly, he said, no matter what happens, no matter, you know, when as a child you break things by accident or maybe something happens and you don't want to really share what it was. He always said, tell me the truth, because then we can sort it out. I can help, we can make it better, or at least we can find a solution. So tell me the truth. If you don't, I find out later, it might be too late and then it's more damage done than if you would have told me right away. So that stayed with me. And that's something I bring somehow into my coaching. The other thing is my mom. So my dad, he was the Swiss part of me, and my mom, she is the Bavarian part of me. And I grew up in two different religious, so Protestant and Catholic, but not saying that it's more about my mom. She had her own unique faith. And whenever things got critical or uncertain, she said, well, I'm gonna ask for help. I don't know, help will be here. And somehow doors opened, solutions came, and I often wondered why. And then, you know, I literally started to ask for good marks at school. So before every test, I would say, please, 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 please help me to get a good mark. And somehow it worked.
And you got them, absolutely.
You know, so it's literally this: speak the truth and also trust that there is a higher power, however you call it. There's something higher that supports us.
Yeah.
Right. And this I strongly believe, and this I bring into the coaching that I call intention. Set an intention. What's your heartfelt wish? And then we sort of connect to what we can't name. Right. And the other thing is that my parents, they encouraged me and my sister to go and travel the world. They said, go and see the world first before you settle. Meet people, talk to them, you know, watch how they live, what they do, what they believe. Go and see the world and then make your decision where you want to live.
Excellent, excellent. My next question is, you know, about people in our lives. All of us have people in our lives and they influence us differently.
Yes.
You've spoken about your mom and your dad, but have there been any other people who have influenced you as a coach today?
Yes, well, I must say every single coachee influences me because in a way they bring a gift. They bring their life story. They bring their pain and their their blessings. And in each session, there is a learning, what I call. And as long as I just believe they bring a gift. So every encounter brings a gift. So I don't have a specific role model because there is so many. It can be a baby.
Yeah.
You know, I was traveling India and I met this old man sitting at the side of the streets. And I just namaste and looked him in the eye. And in that moment, I felt like I fell into eternity. And I realized my own arrogance that I thought I'm better off than others. So, you know, life is a teacher. So the people are teachers to me. That's,
well said.
That's the influence.
Well said. So time for two more questions. My next question is about the young leaders. And I've often said that the millennials and the Gen Z leaders who are now in positions of authority in organizations, they have brought a breath of fresh air into most companies.
Yes.
That certainly people from my generation, which is the boomers generation, seem to have messed up. And my question is, what are the areas, in your opinion, these young leaders need to be coached in?
Because you know, first we need to understand where were they born. So the millenniums is from 1980 to 95, right? And the Generation Z, as they call them, are from 96 onwards. And honestly, I'm not fond of labels.
I know.
Because that boxes already and gives a specific mindset of who they are, what they bring or not. But apart from that, I think it's patience and the willingness to see that where we come from, what baby boomers and all the other generations before did, wasn't necessarily from a bad mindset, but mostly because of we didn't know better. And now we know better, and now we do the best again. So first of all, the invitation to just drop the labels and sit together at a round table and see what do we bring to the table, and then play with the cards that we have. Right. And patience is an important fact because you can't make a tree grow faster. You can't change the world in a wink of an eye, but you can start small and you at least make baby steps. And then do the baby steps. And I know they come with big aspirations, big hopes, big dreams, big asks. And that's good because that makes us think, how can we do it differently? So I wouldn't even call it coaching. I think it's literally just listen to each other and see what do we bring to the table, all of us. And then where's the common, denominator? And then take it from there. So I don't know whether they need to be coached, maybe, but maybe differently than expected.
Wonderful. And my last question to you, Iris, and this is for the many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your amazing experience as an executive coach, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want a lot of our viewers and listeners to take away?
Yes. I think one big lesson that life brought me along was that blame doesn't help. Because blaming is costing us energy and time, and it doesn't change a single thing.
Right.
So when we are willing to drop blame, we can ask the question, so what can I do or contribute to make myself feel better, to change my life circumstance, or at least get a different perception so I can move on in life in a different way and make things change. So what can I contribute? So it brings back to self-responsibility. Right. The other thing is really to now and then pause and think, is it really the way I want to behave? Or is there another way? Yeah. Because we are always at choice. Even it's a bit I need to say that even when we are dying, we are a choice in the way we want to leave this world. Do we fight it? Do we accept it? Do we surrender? So there's always choice. And this is important to know. Even though life is as it is, we have a choice to find a different perception, a different attitude. And this, again, will help us move forward. And you asked for a third thing. So let me see, what's the third thing? Just allow yourself to make mistakes and to be willing to show up nevertheless.
Yeah.
And be yourself, because only you can do you. So this copy paste, or this, I say copy paste because with social media, there's, especially for young people, this urge, they want to be like. And I said, well, that doesn't help because this person already exists. So only you can do you. And then you do a big service to the world.
Well said. And on that note, Iris, and your 3 wonderful lessons: blame does not help. Second, you said pause and think. Is this what I want? And where do I want to go? A third one, you said, well, allow yourself to make mistakes, be yourself. Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for speaking to me about Inside Out and coaching. I loved your AAA Inside Out, which is acceptance, align, and act. Thank you also for speaking to me about so many other aspects of coaching. Thank you again, and good luck.
Pleasure. Good luck. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. All the best to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website, www.tbcy.in, to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.